Hey Darian, check out what...
What?
Hey Barry, check this out.
What is this?
The newest Resident Evil game. Only this time, guess what? You are the star for once.
What?
Yeah, you're looking for your daughter, Moira. You know, the one you never taught how to shoot a gun after the zombie outbreak erupted.
I was really careless.
But you know what, Barry? That's okay, because Claire Redfield is with her now. Yeah, and she does everything for her.
You're right.
Hey Barry, you hungry? Here, have a sandwich.
Jill, sandwich.
Jill. Yeah, sure. Dude!
Oh my God!
That's my card. Even though it fucking sucks!
Don't worry.
Shut up! You're nothing more than a fat, old, egotistical slob who thinks he's funny.
Just take a look at this.
Oh, ha ha. Very funny, Barry. Look, are you gonna review your own damn game or what?
All right.
Good! Idiot! Wait, what the fuck is going on?
Well, looks like he just became a Zach sandwich. Hey Zach, flatline much? Looks like I just popped a berry.
Hi, kids. I'm Darian.
Oh, what the? Remember what I said in my rant video of Resident Evil Revelations 1 last year? As far as I'm concerned, Resident Evil is dead to me. Well, I decided to give Resident Evil one last chance with Revelations 2, since this time it's made for consoles instead of a handheld. And overall, I'm glad I did. Resident Evil Revelations 2 is probably my favorite Resident Evil since 4. One good thing about it is that it's only $40. The game was first released episodically on digital download, $10 per episode, each episode being around 2 hours long, give or take, plus an extra 2 chapters which were about an hour long each, plus countless hours of the addicting raid mode. So content-wise, this game is more than worth the $40. It is seriously fun, or at least when you're playing solo. Now that we got the content factor out of the way, the most important thing that values the overall game, let's see what the game itself offers within that content. First off, let me give you an idea of what the story is like, and remember, I'm not going to spoil anything major in this review. Anyway, there are 2 stories that alternate back to back each episode, where you first play as Claire Redfield and Moira Burton and their experiences, and then you switch to Barry Burton and a little girl he finds named Natalia Korba, roughly 6 months later trying to pick up their footprints and find out what happened, but more importantly, try to rescue his daughter Moira.
I'm here, baby. Please be alive.
And no Resident Evil game is complete without really embarrassing or classless dialogue.
Mother of balls! My
and unlike most Resident Evil games, this one has at least 2 different endings, although it doesn't really do a good job at telling you what you did to earn it, or what you have to do to get the other ending. I mean, like, it has like one clue, but it's very, like, almost non-existent. There are also a couple really painfully noticeable plot holes near the end that never really resolves themselves with a valid explanation. Or, like, any explanation. And the more you think about it, the more it will just piss you the fuck off. I'm probably gonna make like a fucking a rant video after this review is uploaded. But enough about the story, let's move on to the gameplay. The gameplay and controls are a massive improvement over Revelations 1. You can now sprint, and evading is so much easier to do now, and not misinterpreted at all like it was in Revelations 1, which is actually the main reason why I quit that fucking game. You can also use parts that you find to upgrade your weapons and upgrade character attributes between chapters with BP points that you earn by completing various challenges, among other things. However, gun upgrades in raid mode are permanent and cannot be undone. I will get to that portion later on though. This game also has a stealth mechanic to it, but you will hardly use it to your advantage throughout the game, simply because the opportunities for it are few and far in between. And even when an opportunity does arise when you can sneak kill, it won't be the first thing that comes to your mind because the game simply doesn't encourage it. I appreciate them implementing it even if it wasn't that well constructed, but it wasn't used enough. One small flaw I would just like to point out is that the quantity of items or treasure you find is randomized almost every time you retry at that spot. So if I were to get a treasure worth 500 BP points and die right after, I would go back to that same spot only to pick up a treasure worth only 100 BP. It's something that makes the game seem all the more unfair and cheap.
Ah, sweet! A Spider-Man pencil.
Oh, I died!
Oh man, now it's a third world pencil with a crappy eraser that rips through paper. Fuck!
And some of the enemy AI, specifically the regular weak zombies, are so fucking stupid. Whenever they are on the other side of an object as you, very often will their AI not even be able to detect the path to your position, so instead of turning to get by an obstacle or obstruction, they will just continuously run in place in your exact fucking direction.
What is this?
Must be the infected the brief mentioned.
One thing that makes the gameplay feel truly special and unique though, and unlike most third-person shooters, is that it lets you instantly switch characters at any given time. You can also command the AI partner to stay or go in certain parts that require one person to be someplace else to complete a puzzle.
Claire, this way!
There were a few times in the main campaign where switching characters was rather stressful when faced with large groups of enemies. You will occasionally have to decide whether or not to trust your AI partner, but for the most part they do a good job at staying alive. The two primary characters, Clara and Barry, use firearms and both have knives for melee. The two secondary characters, Moira and Natalia, have their own special abilities. Moira can use a flashlight to blind enemies and a crowbar as melee, and Natalia can spot enemies and use bricks, for some reason. I wish there was more variety of melee weapons for the secondary characters though, instead of only one melee weapon each. But despite their severe lack of resourcefulness in combat situations, I actually found myself playing as them more, since they both have the ability to spot hidden items, and believe me, that can make a huge difference in the long run. Oddly enough, and not in a good way, why is it that the secondary characters, a teenage girl and a little girl, have health regeneration compared to the experienced RE veterans Claire Redfield and Barry Burton? Also, the two secondary characters with health regeneration can be revived. But oh no, not the primary characters. What the fuck?
And that leads us to the co-op. Easily the worst thing about the game. By far. There are so many fucking things wrong with it. It was so obviously tacked on at the very last second of development. Now let me explain. There is so much fucking stuff wrong with this. Oh my god. Okay. First off, I can't show you the co-op really because of my AV and the bars on the side, and it's very hard to see because not only that, but it's one of those co-op games where like the screens are like fucking like they don't take up the whole screen. It's like very, you know, like the first player's screen has like a fucking black gap on the right or something, and then the player 2 on the bottom has a black gap on the left. That they serve no fucking purpose or anything, no high score or anything. It's just wasted fucking space when they could have used up the entire fucking screen. Okay, so that's one problem right there. I know this was tacked on. I know it was completely rushed out of the door, and I think even Capcom admitted that it was like the very, very, very last thing that they added to the game, just for the sake of having co-op, is that when you complete a mission, it's only what the first player does that matters. Okay, unless the second player dies, which, oh wait, they can't. Never mind. But when only the first player's actions matter. The second player has no contribution to the final rank that you receive. Unlike Resident Evil 6. Yeah, that's right. Resident Evil 6 has a better co-op. It actually wasn't that bad of a co-op. I mean, Resident Evil 6 wasn't really a great game, but the co-op wasn't that bad. But anyway. And also, when a player's controller loses its connection to the console, instead of backing out the screen like any other co-op game would, where two people are holding up the game, in this case it's only one player holding up the game, because one time when I was playing with my brother, I lost the connection, and I was playing as a second player, and his game kept on going. It just went back to single player screen. And the AI uses the same items that the split screen player uses. Now, the worst thing about it is that I firmly believe that this is meant to be a single player only game where you get to control two players to solve fights and puzzles or whatever, okay? And when you play through single player, it feels like just that. When you play through in co-op, one player has all the firepower, doing all the fucking killing, while the second player, although they have special abilities that can mildly aid the first player, they don't do anything but fucking sit back and watch you do all the fun, all the work.
So I have a firearm, a rifle as my main weapon, and you, sir, get a brick, broken in half, of course, and a hatchet. Be sure to take good care of that hatchet.
Huh?
Let me do all the killing, okay?
Alrighty then.
When I first played through this game, I played through as the second player in co-op. It was the fucking worst experience I've ever had in any Resident Evil game. Second time I played through single player, it was fantastic. Now, when the first player faces trouble, I began to feel guilty because I felt like I wasn't doing something right. But I can't help but also think that's the game's fault for not giving the second player enough responsibility. It's just way too unbalanced. The responsibility is all on the first player, because not only can the second player can't die, but the first player has to constantly watch his ass while shooting everything to protect the second player while she's doing something like spotting an item or blinding enemies or whatever. It is completely unbalanced and completely unfair. The second player will not have fun in the game. It doesn't matter what gamer you are. You will not have fun playing as a second player. Period. Claire and Barry both have firearms and melee. You want to know what Moira has? A crowbar. You want to know what Natalia has? A brick. Another truly broken part about it is the inventory. Okay, this is fucking hilarious. Get this, okay? Unlike Resident Evil 5, where you can request an item saying, hey, can I have that egg or that ammo or something like that herb? Instead of doing that, both players, get this, both players have the ability to steal items from the other fucking player. It's the worst fucking. This is the worst co-op I've ever seen in a video game. I mean, it probably fucking rivals Battletoads. It's so bad. I'm only saying that because I've never even played Battletoads before, but I've seen it. My God, I mean, you steal. You can just take items out of people's inventory without their permission. That is wrong. That is absolutely broken.
So, I got these 3 items, okay? Now, these 2, I think you can have. It's not really anything substantial. The second player can always regenerate health. So, you can have these items, I guess. And
sounds fair.
And this item, the Campbell's Chunky Noodle Soup, is very substantial. I kind of need it to regenerate my health, okay? So, I don't think it's fair for you to have it, so I'm gonna hang on to it right here, right now. This fucking Campbell pocket right here, yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
So, wait a minute. But then again, I might need some water. May I have that, I might as well just take it out of your hand, since I have the authority. Well, what the fuck?
What do you mean, what do you mean, what the fuck? You didn't ask for permission.
I didn't say what the fuck, I said what the fuck.
Try it again, see what happens.
Yeah.
Dare you.
Fuck! Yeah, what now, huh? What now? Yeah. Want piece of me? Yeah? Huh? Want piece of me? Piece of me, you fucker. Motherfucker. Yeah. What do you say to do, huh?
I am gonna bury you.
And I think at some point, only one person can have their inventory up at a time. So when the second player is opening their inventory, the first player can't. And sometimes the first player has their inventory open, the second player can like close their inventory to open theirs. You know what I'm saying? It is so not meant to be two-player. I mean, when they tacked this on, they didn't even like finish it. Like it's just like anything goes. It is so like it's like anarchy. And also the first player or second player, either of the players can take the items from the other player and then combine it with one of their own items, and then it will become their own item in their inventory. And lastly, why is a 2015 game have split-screen co-op without having online co-op? I mean, maybe it's for the best. Imagine online co-op where your friend is stealing stuff out of your inventory and you don't get him to punch him in the face because he's not next to you. He's not sitting next to you playing with you. Imagine that. Be quitting the game all over the fucking place. But whatever, seriously, like no online co-op for a 2015 game that has local co-op. Like what is this? The fucking Nintendo 64 era? Although, after all I've said about the co-op and it being the worst thing about the game, which it is, I can't really consider it a major flaw because it is completely avoidable. Your friend will not help your rank because there's nothing you can do in co-op that you can't do by yourself, simply because you play as both characters in single player. That's the point of it, making co-op absolutely pointless. Period. I'd have more respect for this game if it didn't have this bullshit, useless co-op. It is absolute garbage. The single player is great. Just stick with it. Lastly, there's the raid mode. And holy shit, is it fun. You have a hub in this one where you can customize your look for each character as well as their own experience level that you can increase either solo or with help from a co-op partner. You can also unlock and upgrade your arsenal with all the weapons and upgrade parts you acquire that you find on your own during missions in raid mode. Be careful when you upgrade your weapons though, as those changes are permanent. I mean, you can remove the upgrades, but at the cost of breaking your weapon. So be very careful and make good decisions because you could screw yourself over with your present decisions later on. And before I conclude, I would just like to show you how much this game has to offer in terms of replayability and unlockables. It is quite insane. There's just like tons and tons of stuff to do and unlock in this game. It is ridiculous. I mean, look at all this shit, you know? It is ridiculous. Right down to the... Like look at this. Like, countdown mode. Beat the game within a certain amount of time. Invisible enemy mode. That's gonna be a fucking bitch right there, you know what I'm saying? Records, these like a bunch of challenges and shit, and I still have a lot to do. I mean, like, it is ridiculous. I mean, as far as the completionist goes, there's like fucking like 200 hours of gameplay here. My god. So as far as overall quality, fun, and content, it is definitely worth the $40 you pay for it. Hell, it'd probably be even worth the $60 if it was released along with all the other AAA titles without being released episodically at first. But I have to warn you, do not get the last gen versions, okay? Because they're are a lot of technical issues with it. There's a lot of bugs. There's a lot of graphical clipping, a lot of frame rate issues, especially the last episode. There's a lot of long ass load times, really annoying load times, a lot of stuff like that that I kind of doubt aren't as frequent in the next gen versions, PS4 and Xbox One. I made the mistake of getting the PS3 version. I think we should have waited until getting a PS4 and then playing it on PS4. But then again, at that time I probably wouldn't have reviewed it. So yeah, if you're a die-hard Resident Evil fan who doesn't have a PS4 and Xbox One yet, but still wants to experience Resident Evil, I mean, it's still very playable on PS3 and Xbox 360. But if you have a PS4 and Xbox One, definitely get it on those consoles. And if you want to wait, then yeah, sure. Just try to avoid getting it on the older consoles if you can help it, because nowadays they're all focusing on the newer technology. And it's weird because Resident Evil 5 was solid as hell, and that was just kind of like the same amount of game, and that was just fine on PS3 and 360. So in conclusion, even though Resident Evil Revelations 2 isn't as solid as Resident Evil 5, I think it is, in my opinion, the most enjoyable one since Resident Evil 4, because it adds this whole unique switched characters that's kind of reminiscent of Resident Evil 0, or only in my opinion, it's done much better in this game. Alright. Okay. Now, I'm going to give it a score. And I want you to understand that this is not a bad score. I think this is a very fair score for the game, all things considered. My final score for Resident Evil Revelations 2 is a 7.5 out of 10. It is a pretty good game, a pretty damn good game. I would have absolutely no problem giving it an 8 out of 10 if it didn't have those technical issues to it, as I just mentioned. So yeah, it is, in my opinion, the best Resident Evil since 4. Yeah, like that's saying much.
The gamer gods fail. I'm going to sip some soup.